Episode 26, Ready Player One movie review.
Welcome to the Visionary Variety Podcast, where we cover all kinds of cool stuff like photo, video, film, books, and technology. So switch on your brain and enjoy the show.
Hey there, guys. Welcome back to the Visionary Variety Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today, we're going to be talking about a movie we've been looking forward to seeing all year long, Ready Player One. With us today, we have Nate Gunn, the guy who just can't even more than he can.
Hey, guys.
And Abi Leon, the guy who's taking down the Illuminati one reptilian at a time.
I am the one.
And Daniel Grove, the guy who collects rare and precious bits of useless information.
I do.
And I am Angela Brock, the time traveler who's currently traveling at 1 second per second.
Yeah, but I have the time.
Awesome.
It's impressive, I know.
We're super excited to have Abi Leon as our special guest again. This is our return guest,
Yay.
First and only so far.
Welcome.
Yeah, he's our local cinemaphile, movie freak fan. So whenever there's an awesome movie that is in our nerdy realms, we love to have him on board to talk about it with us. So this is our 26th episode, as you may know, and that means we have done 25 episodes, which is awesome. Woo!
Half a year.
Yeah. When was our first episode?
Episode
Oh,
1.
man.
Yes, our first episode was episode 1. So our podcast went live in February of 2018, and yeah, so we've been going strong for pretty much half a year, and that's pretty great.
Yeah.
So good job, everybody. Woo woo.
Woo!
We're awesome.
Woot.
Woot, I say. Woot. All right, so let's get on with this episode. So we're going to be doing a movie review of Ready Player One, which is awesome. I was super excited to hear when this movie was announced because I had already read the book when I think I was maybe in the middle of listening to the audiobook when the movie was announced by Spielberg. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I love when this happens. I love when I get to read the book first and then see the movie. And I also love when I don't have to rush and read the book really fast in time for the movie's release.
Right.
When I heard the movie was announced, my expectations were pretty high because the book has a lot more information than the movie. Surprise, surprise. That's pretty much just the only way there is to go with a book-to-movie adaptation. You can't have everything in there, especially Lord of the Rings. But there's a lot of stuff in the book, a lot of cameos, a lot of side stories and quests and just character development. I was really curious, how they were going to make this into a movie. On top of that, I knew there was going to be a crap ton of special effects and lots of characters and lots of just wild action scenes. This book and the story is all about video games and, challenges and things like that. So I was curious about that. But, I think we can all agree the movie was pretty great, right? You guys liked it?
Yeah,
Any haters out there?
I liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were all very, very pleased. And honestly, I had really low hopes because I was influenced by a few podcasts I listened to.
Oh, you're that guy.
Yeah, I'm normally not. I normally listen. I'm like, well, that's nice. I'm just going to see it for myself. But, I believed what they said and I bought into it. And then I saw, I was like, wait, guys, this was like a really good movie. Ben of Strangers and Aliens, one of my favorite podcasts, he hated the book. And I understand his complaints about it because there is some problems with the book, writing issues and story issues, kind of minor things that are kind of easy to brush past. Like one of them is just that the main character is such a Mary Sue. Which means like he can do anything whenever a challenge presents itself. He already has the skill and he comes out on top without any risk or stakes or anything. Like he just gets through it perfectly and he has everything he needs. Yeah. And that gets really old in stories when that happens every time something bad happens. And Wade Watts is pretty much a Mary Sue in the book. And it does get a little wearisome. So yeah, I kind of had low hopes. And then I was like super surprised when the movie was done. I was like, this was great. And it's different than the book. We're going to talk about that later, but that's okay. The changes that were made by Spielberg were actually pretty good, and also Ernest Cline helped write some of the scripting for the movie, which is cool. I think that's really cool when a book author gets to have a say in the movie.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
I think that doesn't happen a lot, unfortunately, because of the movie industry and money stuff. But that's pretty sweet that he got a say in it. To work with Spielberg, that must have been pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, then not a whole lot of authors do that. Dan Brown for the Da Vinci Code
Was he
stuff.
involved?
He was in the Da Vinci Code trilogy or quadrilogy or whatever that is. The Tom Clancy He helped scripting on a bunch of his movies. Michael Crichton and obviously J.K. Rowling.
Yeah, usually the big names get in,
yeah.
but the lesser names, not so much.
Yeah.
They kind of sell the
Stephen
rights away
King,
and
yeah.
cross their fingers. So this book came out in 2011 and is by Ernest Cline. So just a quick synopsis about what it's about. So if you haven't read the book or seen the movie yet, we will get into spoilers later. So you're okay for now, but we will let you know when spoilers are coming. So just a quick synopsis of the story. Basically, the time is in the 2040s. Where a popular virtual reality operating system known as the Oasis is used by a majority of the populace, at least in America. And it's used for all kinds of things. People play games in it, but also they use it to go to school and get an education. They use it to interact with each other socially rather than in the real world. And there's even people that log into the Oasis, which is virtual reality, and they work normal day jobs every day.
Huh.
So this is like a really big, wide-ranging thing that's not just for video games. Adults use it, elderly use it, all ages. Children log in to do their school every day. At least in the book. They don't really show that in the movie. James Halliday is the creator of the Oasis. Him and a business partner made it, and you kind of get a vibe that it's just sort of like an Apple-sized, just huge mega corporation that does something really well and does it right. It just makes gajillions of dollars off of it, and it's just a household name. So James Halliday is the guy who originally made the Oasis, but the story kind of starts off with him being dead. He dies, and this is a big shock to the whole world. So when James Halliday dies, a video that he has pre-recorded before he dies, obviously, is broadcast, I guess, to everyone in the Oasis and elsewhere. So in his virtual world, he's hidden 3 keys that you can only obtain by, I think it's solving a riddle. And then once you get the key, you unlock a challenge. And then once you beat that challenge, you can move on to, you get a clue for the next key. Or the next riddle. James Halliday was obsessed with the 80s. And so whenever he wrote the code or the challenges and games for all these things to unlock, they are all just drenched in 80s references, 80s movies, music. In the movie, there's a quote along to Monty Python and the Holy Grail. You have to quote the entire movie all the way through 100%, or you will fail. So there's a lot of just weird, kooky things that, it's funny and it's entertaining in the book. It's really fun to read. But once you get through all 3 keys, then you can unlock the last thing and you get the Easter egg. And the Easter egg gives you possession of the entire Oasis. You are now the new owner, CEO or whatever. And you also get like $200 trillion or $1 billion that is owned by James Halliday when he died. So pretty sweet deal. So needless to say, everyone and their mom is jumping on this game challenge and trying to solve it. But a few years in, no one's really got anywhere, and it kind of dies down, except for a small minority of players that are very, really devoted to this challenge of finding the Easter eggs, or egg hunters, and they call themselves Gunters, short for egg hunter. So, So Wade Watts is the main character, and he is conveniently obsessed with the 80s because of this whole lifelong challenge that he's devoted himself to getting the Easter egg and, basically taking control of the Oasis. He's a good guy, thankfully. But there's also bad guys who want to control the Oasis and make it a money scheme and, put ads everywhere and charge premium and platinum and silver packages all over the place to make more and more money off of everything because everyone's already in the system.
They're basically EA.
Yeah, basically EA. Yeah, pay to live, basically, instead of pay to win. And so the story follows Wade Watts as he works towards obtaining the Easter egg and is accompanied by his friend H and his love interest Artemis, who are online players that he has never met in person until later in the story, which is kind of fun. So there's that. So how do you guys rate this movie? From 0 to 5 Chuckies, how do you rate this movie?
Yeah, the experience was really high. The experience of the movie was really, really, really good. Because, just the references alone, you could watch that movie 50 times and catch something new every time. So on that level, it would be so I'm going to average this out. It would probably be a 5. Visually, I love all the CGI, but I wish we could have been in the real world a little bit more. So I'd probably surprisingly give it a 3. Because a lot of the times I felt like I was in that movie Final Fantasy. Remember that one?
Yeah.
It kind of felt like that texture, like that matte texture, not like the CGI that we're used to now. So I'd probably give it about a solid 4, 3.7 to 4.
Okay.
Yeah, overall.
For me, I want to give it a 5, but I'm hesitant to give movies 5s
Mhm.
because I can usually nitpick things out of it. But I think if there was more Star Wars in it, I maybe would have given it a 5. So, that's pretty. That's
You
pretty.
you hear us,
petty.
Disney?
Wow.
You hear us? I'm struck.
Yeah. Yeah, they listen to our podcast.
Yeah, they will.
So I'm going to say a 4, maybe 4.5.
You can nitpick it, but then at the same time, you can love it. So I guess giving it like a middle rating is kind of fair.
Yeah, I'm thinking
Yeah.
about maybe 3.5 to 4. I guess I'll go with 4. I don't know if it'll change if I see the movie multiple times, but it was good. I just think there may be a couple issues with the plot that I have that make lower the rating
Yeah.
for me. But other than that, it's a pretty solid movie. It's a fun ride.
I mean, if you're gonna
Yeah, there's-
fanboy, I just give it a number of 5, like give it a 5.
Yeah.
But like when you're gonna critique everything, like visual, story, acting, and then that's when like Albie and everybody else is saying it's
Yeah.
like maybe 3.7.
Yep.
So before we get into the spoilers, let's talk about virtual reality for a little bit because it's pretty much a big deal in the story, in the movie, and the book. Who here has used any kind of virtual reality?
I have for mobile, and I ran into a wall. No, but no. So
Nice.
our like Walmart and Target, they sell like some of the cheaper stuff in Best Buy, where you can take your mobile device and set it in, and I think you have to download a certain game. Unfortunately, you can't just pick any game. And I think we were just playing kind of like asteroids basically, but it was more like virtual updated, and I was flying around, and the way you control everything is you have to turn your head. Of course, that's a given. There's no controllers that I remember, but there could. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But so I remember turning my head, and actually, it was starting to get like lightheaded and nauseous. And this is from a mobile. I can't even imagine like from like an actual computer or
the
system.
system.
I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, I've experienced it on the PlayStation and the Xbox and mobile, like you, Nate. The first time was in one of those mall settings where I don't think our mall has the virtual reality setup, but there's a couple other malls like in Austin, when I went back home in Arizona, that have like the whole Xbox Oculus setup, and you could go in there
Nice.
and you could experience it. So I've done that a couple of times. I went over to a friend who has the PlayStation version, and that one was where it really kind of sold me. So the game that I played with him was a mountain climbing game. So after a couple minutes of tutorials,
Scary.
yeah, you follow this path. It points you to the next, to the next obstacle, and I found myself jumping, to reaching for these things. In the end, I was tired. My hands were clammy, like I was actually,
man.
my hands were sweaty, and
All worked up.
yeah.
Nervous.
I've seen some more advanced mobile versions that have like Bluetooth accessories,
Cool.
and then if you have wireless headphones, it can fool you. And but yeah, I've done a couple of those. So real cool experience when it's done right.
The element of immersion is really amazing. How much VR will trick your brain and kind of give your brain a new spatial reality, and you forget the space that you're really in, which can be very dangerous and also look very silly on the outside.
Yeah.
But all your brain knows is this world you're in, the perspective and the height and the closeness or far away of things that are coming at you and scaring you. And you're like, you jump back because your brain is just your instinct takes over when things come at you fast, or if you're looking over an edge, you want to balance and you're losing your balance and you're just standing on the ground in your living room, for goodness sake. But your brain doesn't care because your visual cortex and the visual in your brain is so strong. I find that very interesting.
Majority of us have been on roller coasters or stuff that goes fast, airplanes, and at our Comic-Con here in San Antonio, they had a simulator for the Navy, like you can fly a jet. Oh man,
you did it?
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not saying it was top notch, but you actually can sit down in the chair. You have like the controls where you're in a cockpit basically. And man, I had to walk out. Like they're like, how was it? I was like, that was awesome, but I don't feel good because like there's a lot of turning and looping and flying. Because it's a simulation of following like a path, kind of like what Albie was doing, like on the map on the mountain. But this one was all flying, and then all of a sudden you go into air combat, and that's pretty. And so if you can
does the cockpit move?
No, that's probably for the best though.
Yeah.
Well, people have talked like when your head starts moving, like if your head goes left or right, then the whole thing should move. And I'm like, no, that's probably right where I start. You start seeing what I ate for lunch.
Yeah, they'd be cleaning puke out of that thing every 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, ZDTs. Have you guys ever been to ZDTs in Seguin? They have one of those virtual rides that it's 4D where the whole capsule moves
Wow.
up and down. It's pretty popular.
I want to do a Star Wars fighter like that. That'd be awesome.
I think like way back in the day, like when VR wasn't even really a thing in Disney, they have a ride simulation where it's a roller coaster and you sit in this huge cockpit like you're in a spaceship, and you and your family and friends, and all of a sudden you're basically flying in space and you're going down a roller coaster. But what you see on all the screens is you're out in space running away from people, getting like a tour guide. You end up in like this warfare, and so
That's
that was
cool.
a
So
very
instead of goggles, it's a whole room visual like screens around you.
It's crazy to think like that was probably 10 plus years ago, and now like 2018, you can just put it on your head.
Pretty awesome. Well, it's about time we get some dang virtual reality. They tried it back in the 90s, and Nintendo failed miserably at it because the graphics were not
was
there.
horrid.
They had this huge
Virtual
huge
Boy.
thing you put on your head, and it was just a silly, clunky setup.
Red.
And,
it was all red. Remember that?
Yeah. That's probably Battery Vision.
Probably
Like the ones at the arcades, right?
No, this
is
is worse.
a commercially
home.
sold thing.
Yeah, it was like the Virtual Boy. That's what it's called, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it was called.
Have you guys seen those unidirectional running mats they use for VR games? So
yes.
crazy.
There's several of them. They actually use one in the movie.
Yeah.
It's called the unit tracker or something.
I don't understand how they work.
Infinideck. That's what it's called. The Infinideck.
So for those listening that don't know what we're talking about, there is a real technology that exists called the Infinideck, and I'm sure there's some other knockoffs. That basically it's a maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 by 3 square platform, maybe an octagon or circle you stand on, and you have to wear a harness around your waist that basically straps you in the middle of this thing. Now you can run. This is like a treadmill. You're running and running, running. You can slow down and walk, but this treadmill below you keeps up with you, and that transfers into the gameplay, and it makes your virtual character move. So when you have a VR headset on, your world around you is moving. You're moving forwards in the game world, and you're running with your real feet in the real world. And that's just an awesome. We're talking about immersion. I mean, that's amazing. Being able to run around in a fake world. I'm sure that's a really, really fun experience to do, especially for like shooting games and fantasy games. They're real popular. So that's cool, and that plays a part in Ready Player One. He has that, and.
I call it that you're going to get visual goggles and you go to a paintball match or something, and then it's just a traditional field, but in your visual goggles, it's like whatever you want, like futuristic or terrain or jungle.
You've seen that, right?
Wait, it's real?
Yes, it's real. Yeah, I'll have to look it up. Where it like the walls are just blank, but when you put on the goggles, it has exactly, it's tracked.
That's cool. That's like an immersion room where the computer software knows what you're looking at and knows where you are rather in this real space of just foam walls, whatever, and then it adds a whole sci-fi world around you onto these walls. So you can and some of them are interactive, so you can touch things on the wall, like turn a dial. We feel it with your hand. Even though you have goggles on, you can't see the real world. You're turning something with your hand, but digitally in your goggles, you see the visual of like a sci-fi dial or a gear. So that's really cool. You've got interactive parts.
Have y'all ever heard of the escape rooms for team building and stuff? They should start doing VR escape rooms. Like you're actually in the escape room, but like make it a little bit more intense somehow.
Ooh, that would be cool. Yeah,
I think
VR escape room.
I think it's called The Edge. I just kind of Googled it. But there's videos about it. I think it's Las Vegas is the first location.
Nice.
And
Very cool.
It's really neat. They walk you through the whole thing, and I mean, there's actual buttons and controls on the wall that you can that then are like Daniel said, that are mapped to a virtual world that you see through the goggles.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they should license out. Like they should have like a Halo one or a Star Wars one or a Harry Potter one. That'd be so cool.
Yes, that would be real
cool.
Okay, get ready to be blown. Your mind's blown.
Ooh.
Okay,
I'm ready. I got my towel.
The Void announced June 6th that they are opening up 9 new locations in the United States. One of them is in Austin, and the 2 themes are Ghostbusters and Star Wars.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's the VR room thing?
Yeah, the void. Yeah.
Oh shoot.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know what I want
And
for my birthday.
so
Yeah,
we
right.
ought to go that and then do a review on that, on what that was like.
Oh man,
But
that'd be so awesome.
so there's I'll send you guys a link, or I'll post a link to on the notes.
Is there one in Kentucky by chance for Angela?
Yeah, I'm left out here.
All right, so that concludes our discussion about virtual reality. Let's get back to the movie, and this time with spoilers. So here is your spoiler warning. All right, so we're going to talk about spoilers here. You've been warned, so if you haven't watched the movie and you don't want to get spoiled, stop. Go watch it and come back. So let's talk about our favorite inclusions and cameos, because there were so many in this movie. This movie was basically Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah.
For, slightly older audience.
Right.
In a good way. And they even had a Hadouken in there, didn't they?
They did.
Did someone shoot a Hadouken?
Gotta have a Hadouken.
You got to. All right, so my favorite inclusion was Chucky.
Yeah.
That was funny. It's like, hey, I
That
got
was
something
great.
for you. It's like, throw it now.
Now, Chucky seemed to be an accessory, right, or a weapon.
Yeah,
He
it's
just
a
attack
special
anybody.
weapon. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that was funny, too. He just jumped on people, and he's like, get off me. And he like threw it at someone else, and it attacked them. Like,
Yeah.
that was just fun to me. Also terrifying. Did the Sixers get attacked by Chucky as well? Or was that the woman from the mansion? Because they were freaking out. I think that was the woman at the mansion, though.
Yeah, I think that was like, well, we
Yeah,
figured
it
it
was a
out, and it
challenge.
was in The Shining, and we're still
Yeah.
at level whatever. And
Yeah, they were all doing the challenge in the Shining Mansion, and they were all getting like whooped by that freaky woman. It was so
And
funny.
the zombie woman.
Flipping out. You guys have any favorite cameos or inclusions?
I kind of enjoy just the whole Shining reference, honestly.
Yeah,
Because I like
it
the
was
movie.
beautifully done.
I like the 19. It was is it 33 or 66 Batmobile?
Oh,
66.
All right, so
Yeah.
I never caught this, and I watched the movie twice. But I was doing some trivia on. I just wanted to know like some random facts. When it is sliding, whenever you see it and it's sliding, it's doing for somehow they got it to do like the like the intro for the TV show way back in the day. So as it's sliding, it's like the skid,
the music is?
No, the skid, the way it's skid, like the skid mark.
sound, did it? Oh, man.
Weird. I didn't hear that. That's
So-
cool.
And I was like,
Neat.
what?
Musical drifting.
Yeah.
It's a thing. Batman.
Alrighty.
I didn't catch it, and that's crazy.
Right at
Yeah, that
the
was
right
cool
at the
seeing that.
beginning when Halliday is in, he's telling story and he's in the casket. Do you guys remember that? When he's in the
Yeah.
it's the Star Trek photon torpedo that he's laying in.
The whole casket was?
Yeah, the whole casket was a photon
Oh,
torpedo.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
Just like with Khan. Remember that?
yeah.
Can anybody
there's-
explain the quarters on his eyelids?
Yeah, it's just a death thing they do.
Yeah,
Oh.
Yeah.
yeah, like Valhalla kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great cameo. I did not even catch that was a torpedo, a photon, not a proton torpedo. That's Star Wars.
Right.
A photon torpedo.
I think more than anything, I loved all the references.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There was just so many icons. Back to the Future, DeLorean.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
That's the vehicle throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
That was
Mhm.
really cool. That's one of my favorite '80s memories.
beautiful.
Yeah.
I want one.
Mhm.
Yeah, you can buy one.
There's a company
Yeah.
that finds them and remakes them and still sells them.
Ooh.
They in Houston.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, everything's in Texas.
I know, right? We got DeLoreans, we got VR stuff.
Yeah.
Got KFC headquarters here.
Do they have tacos in Kentucky?
Yes. They
Oh,
did.
okay.
I'm sure they're crap.
No.
Not Taco Bell. Though.
Shut up.
That doesn't
Oh,
count.
I was about to say the Taco Bell headquarters are here because they're
Oh,
For Kentucky.
that's
yeah.
wrong. Yeah, I also like the Shining Mansion we mentioned earlier. I don't know if that was real or not. Like, were they on a real set? Because it just looks so good.
Yeah, it
Beautiful.
really did, especially when they were coming down right at the beginning when they were coming down the steps. That looked
Mhm.
very real. But it's
Mhm.
actually
Yeah.
a location. It's actually
Real
a real
place.
place, yeah. So it doesn't take much for them to just take an HDRI image of that.
Scan it, and
scan it.
digitize it.
Yeah.
Here's a fun little movie fact, if you didn't know. There's an ending scene that was shot for The Shining by Kubrick, but it wasn't used. But it was used in Blade Runner at the ending
Huh.
when they're driving and it's like sunset or something and they're driving and cruising and there's some car out on the long windy road. That's actually shot for The Shining.
Wow.
Huh,
Did you
that's
know?
weird.
What?
Yeah, very weird.
Speaking of Blade Runner, wasn't that like a big prominent like reference in the book, but they didn't include in the movie?
I thought there was something about Blade Runner in the movie, but I'm sure there's way more in the book. I can't remember so much.
Yeah, I was looking up some stuff about what was cut from the book, and they kind of did different in the movie. I think there was supposed to be a lot of Blade Runner references in the book, but they cut it out of the movie because Blade Runner 2049 was coming out around the same time. So
Yeah.
Weird.
it's weird.
Money choices.
Boo.
Hmm.
I know. Well, that moves us on to our next little spot. I wanted to talk about the things that were taken out of the movie from the book. So Spielberg was the director of the movie, and he decided, he's just so humble, to remove all of his own movie references in this movie, except for a few. He kept the DeLorean, obviously. That made it in there. They almost included the Close Encounters spaceship from Close Encounters of the Third Kind. There's a scene where a bunch of spaceships are flying through space in a line. And they got like the Battlestar Galactica ship in there, which made me super happy. There's a bunch of just classic ships in that scene. And they almost had the Close Encounters mothership, but Spielberg's like, no, it's too much me. You know, I don't want to be like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I read somewhere he doesn't even have the rights
Conflict of
to even
interest.
use stuff from that movie anymore.
Probably not, yeah.
So
They almost didn't have the rights to Star Wars. That's why there's barely anything in there.
yeah.
There's like a reference to the Millennium Falcon, and I think there's an X-Wing in there somewhere.
Supposedly R2-D2's like in
Yeah, hidden in
Halliday's
there.
80s attic.
And I'm
somewhere.
pretty sure Wade Watts had Han Solo's belt.
Yeah.
With a
I
Thundercat
think that's what
logo
it's
on
supposed
it.
to be. Yeah.
Oh, really? Nice. Thundercats. Man, there should have been more Thundercats in that movie.
That's probably because the
That'd be
movie's coming out
interesting.
too.
So 80s.
They didn't have many cartoon references, did they? It was mainly
No,
video game and movie
Not,
stuff.
not really.
Mostly movies. In the book, there's way more music. A lot of music in movies, like
Oh, okay.
just not action, nerdy movies, but like just classic 80s movies. I think there's actually, I think I said this wrong earlier. There was a quote along challenge, but I think it's actually War Games. They have to quote along with every single line within War Games perfectly
That's weird.
to pass. Yeah.
I can see why that was cut. I don't think that makes
Yeah,
for
I
an
know,
interesting
that's
movie
not-
viewing.
Well, at least he kept King Kong and the T-Rex.
That was cool. Though that actually wasn't in the book.
Wait, really?
The race scene wasn't. Yeah, the race scene was not the first
man.
challenge.
What was the first challenge
yeah,
in the book? Do you remember?
I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was totally different. Like that's one of the big things that was changed was the challenges and the riddles and the games that they had to do for each key. So in the book, it opens kind of on the school planet called Ludus or Lettuce.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's where all the kids log into virtually, and they're all in this, they're from around the world, but they're sitting in one classroom digitally and learning their just, elementary school, high school educations on planet Ludus. And the first challenge actually is hidden within that planet. There's like some faraway field, like way outside the school realm, like on the same planet, but like far, far away. And they have to do some kind of Dungeons and Dragons type scene where it's like a Dungeons and Dragons recreation, and they go and find the secret cave, do a riddle, fight some monsters, and yeah, it's from like an old Dungeons and Dragons like program book from the 80s.
Stranger Things probably caused them to take that out.
Yeah,
'Cause
probably.
That's a big trope mechanism in that series.
But yeah, it's just that was a big change was those. Now that first challenge in the movie was totally a movie worthy scene, way cooler than what the book one was, because that race scene was pretty sweet.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah.
I mean, you pointed out when we saw it, you're like, where's the music? I think I liked it without the
It
music.
was weird. Yeah, there's no music in that whole race scene, and it made it interesting.
Kind of made it suspenseful.
It was kind of neat, but at the same time, kind of strange. I mean, there were so many sound effects going on. I don't even know if you could even hear music.
I wanted to hear like "Eye of the Tiger" or something, like something like ballad '80s, like
Highway to
classic
the
rock
Danger
song or
Zone.
something. Yeah, that'd be good. And I have one quibble, if that's even a word.
Quibble.
Him driving backwards, like seriously, who can drive backwards that perfectly?
That guy.
No one.
He's in a virtual reality.
That guy.
You know, they train us. They train you in the military to drive. Well, in the army at least, they train you to drive backwards.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool to escape things.
They call it the driving rodeo, and we have to do 5 tons, Humvees,
oh my gosh!
and deuce and a halves. You have to be able to drive them backwards.
reverse.
Yeah. So that's who would have.
Wow.
That's who would be able to drive it backwards.
A military trained,
Yeah.
which is not Wade Watts.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's trained in the 80s.
Yeah, it was interesting how in the book does he explain like his name? He's like his dad, and my dad gave me the Wade Watts name. Okay,
yeah, that's from the book. Yeah,
and then I was like a kind of like a haha cringe moment is like when the aunt gets mad at him. She's like, I don't say this, but she's like, I swear to God, and I was like, oh my, what?
That's kind of odd.
That's strange.
It's like in the future. Did they say that in the future? Is this like a future thing?
I know.
Is this God anymore?
I just sat there and I was like, wait, what?
Almost like they imply the word God is forbidden to say in the future or something.
Yeah, they're so past religion.
Yeah.
So over it.
Weird little fleeting thing like that.
We're talking about differences between the book and movie. Here's a few more that some of them I noticed and some of them I had to look up and we were like, oh yeah, they didn't include that. The Resistance was the first one that I noticed on my own. I was like, when I saw the trailer, I was like, wait a second, guys, there's no Resistance in the book. But it made sense. It was a nice inclusion. Kind of gives you like a rebel alliance fighting system kind of feel. Not far from actually.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the Resistance group was not in the book, and therefore Artemis was not involved. She was just a lone player who was like awesome, by the way. They kind of downplayed how awesome she was from the book. She was like super skilled, and I mean she was better than Wade Watts in a lot of areas, and he looked up to her until he just kind of by chance did the first challenge and got the first key, and then she follows after him. They actually meet in the virtual world during that very first. I don't know if it's a challenge or a riddle or what the D&D like cave thing they're in. And another thing about Artemis is that he never meets her in person until like way later in the book. I feel like in the movie he met her pretty early on and they had a lot of experience together. But it's almost I might be wrong, but I felt like it was very close to the end of the book where he finally meets her in real life. She reveals her Port wine stain birthmark on her face. When they did it in the movie, I was like, really? That's all? It was like so small. Like, I don't know. That wasn't very impressive. I imagined it being like really big, like a big birthmark across her face, which happens, And so that was kind of underwhelming when they did the big reveal of her tiny little birthmark there.
Yeah. Oh, what was interesting is she told the story about her dad and where he died and how he died. But did they ever explain what happened to Wade's parents? Like, he's with the aunt?
Shoot, what happened to them?
They just said that
they did. Died, they did say it,
but I can't remember why. If they said,
yeah, I can't recall. Yeah, they added Artemis's dad's death into the movie, but in the book, he was enslaved in the loyalty center, or what it had some long name, where he was basically an indentured employee, working off debt and accruing new debt he could never pay it off.
Yeah,
and so in the book, her dad was enslaved and not dead, and Wade Watts actually makes a fake ID, a fake whole online identity, and accrues all this debt on purpose so that IOI will take him in and make him an indentured servant. And while he's inside the system, working it off, he actually he does hack into their system. And I don't know if he makes a back door or he does something for the future to basically take down the Orb of Osavox or whatever, that super magic shield that comes up later. He does something when he's in the system and imprisoned to hack in and make it like he can turn it off later. There is no how do they do it in the movie? How do they turn the thing off?
With the language, they have to the spell. Yeah, I actually wrote that down.
Yeah, it was like a spell thing. Yeah, that was kind of cool.
I thought it was interesting because I think it was Elvish.
It would be.
It was because they didn't include Lord of the Rings, right? Or
no,
and so
no.
So I was wondering if that was. It sounded a lot like Elvish.
To me, it didn't. I don't know. I feel like I looked up this reference earlier, but I have no clue what it was from. It was a reference to something, but I didn't recognize what it was from.
I think I was thinking way too much into the whole innovative online industries because the first thing I saw was binary, and so I
101.
Yeah. So I took 101, and interestingly enough, it translates to blank.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
in binary. Yeah, so it's there is no translation for it. I just thought that was like they're not relevant in reality. So
they are nothing.
Yeah, they're nothing.
I wonder if that was intentional.
Another addition to the movie, or maybe in this case an alteration, was the curator is added, and that is kind of who the partner of Halliday works through. That's sort of his avatar.
I was really
cool. Is the curator in the library. And he helps any player that wants to find references to Halliday's life and legend and all the things that he was into in order to solve these puzzles. And the place was booming when the challenge first came up after Halliday died. But, since then it's kind of died down and not so many people
So
go there.
does he just sit there in the reality and just sit there with the goggles on?
And just wait for people to come by.
Maybe he gets a notice, like a pager. He gets a pager. It's like,
oh, shoot, someone walked in the door. I got to get back online.
Yeah.
So in the book, it's actually, it's not a virtual library you visit. It's just documents called Anorak's Almanac. So Anorak was the avatar that Halliday used in the book. So everyone has these Anorak's Almanac files and videos and text and stuff like that. So they read them religiously and they take notes and try to interpret them and figure out where the keys are hidden and stuff through that. Another thing that they took out of the movie that made really a big impact in the book was Daito. He dies in the book.
What?
He's I think he's the younger Japanese brother.
Oh, okay. The 11-year-old?
I think it was him in the book.
Yeah.
It was him or the older one. But he dies, and it's super gut wrenching. It's like, no, he can't die. He's one of the 5. And, I forgot. I think he maybe sacrifices sort of to hold off the bad guy or something while the good guys finish the last quest. But he dies, and in the movie he doesn't. He's just totally alive and not dying. Everyone's good. No one really dies. There's not a whole lot of stakes in the movie. They kept it kind of stakeless.
Is Anorak the name of the wizard that he takes on in the movie? I don't think it doesn't, right?
I don't think they name him in the movie.
No, they did.
Kept it out of there. Oh,
they did.
Yeah, I remember hearing that name.
Okay, cool.
Well, that name is more trivia. I mean, because this goes really deep. There's the Urban Dictionary says that Anorak it's a derogatory term that for people who are obsessed with hobbies and that just gather. This is funny because almost entirely of gathering information about their favorite subjects, or useless information, like somebody we know.
Nice.
Interesting.
What kind of nerd does that?
I know, right?
Anorak Grove.
Yeah, that's what they call me. That's what they call me back in high school, Daniel Anorak Grove.
All right.
So a few other things that were added or changed was IROC was not in the book. He's definitely a villainous comic relief in the movie. What'd you guys think of IROC?
I thought he was funny.
Yeah, it was. His voice threw me off.
I know. The voice doesn't match the face, but I mean, again,
what's his name?
Players don't always
Miller?
match their character avatar.
The guy from Deadpool in the bar.
And he's in Silicon Valley. I think.
Yeah, and I think he was in the Mark Wahlberg Transformers. He dies pretty early.
Oh yeah, that was a cool death. He actually, he wasn't totally not in the book. He was in the book, but he was just a quick reference. H has a forum about gunting, and IROC is a user, and he's like a big boasty troller kind of guy. He's always talking about how great he is and his exploits and stuff he does and has. But it's just everyone just kind of rolls his eyes at him. He's really annoying. So he's in there, but he's not an active player. But they brought him in to be kind of a secondary villain, which I thought worked really cool. Sort of like a hired, gun for hire kind of character.
In World of Warcraft, the miners, is that who would be the trolls? They would just sit there and mine products and then sell them on eBay or sell them on different forums and stuff like that. And then they could just, they transfer you there. That's kind of what I got about IROC, that he was that kind of person. He just sits around, just doesn't even play the game, just builds up, and then he sells all these cool things.
That's what I got to do with the Orb of Ozulok. He just tried to get it from that big challenge on the Doom planet, and he got it, and he sells it off to.
Yeah.
So when I was listening to the audiobook, there's a few weird things that happen when you listen to audiobooks that you don't get when you read a physical book. For example, spelling. You don't know how things are spelled when you're listening to this book for hours on end. So I thought that H was the letter H.
Right.
But then I looked it up and it's AECH. Mm-hmm. But it is still represents the letter H.
Right.
Which is because the woman's name is, what was it? Helen?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it kind of goes back to the letter H. But it was just weird. I was reading a trivia. No, it was an article about things they took out of the movie. I was like, what? Who's H? Oh my god, it's an H. That's weird. Weird little woke moment.
I think she was one of my favorite characters. Kind of kept the comedic in the whole.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
buddy pal kind of thing, and
especially when it became, he's like, what happens in The Shining? And I've never seen it. And I was like,
buddy. There's always that one person that hasn't seen a classic piece of culture.
Right.
I could relate.
No.
Yeah, it happens. It happens to all of us. Oh man, I could list off the movies that are like cult classics I've never seen, but I don't want to embarrass myself. So
Yeah, not on this episode.
no,
Yeah, maybe in a
so this
future
is a wrong
episode.
episode to admit things I haven't seen from the
That
80s.
could be a whole episode.
Yeah, H and Wade actually have I think they have a big falling out in the book because of Wade's, instant fame, which is also removed from the movie. He gets like pretty rich, and he actually does sponsorships. Like he gets money off of doing sponsoring products, and he has these various live streams going of the things he does.
Yeah.
And people log in like daily to watch, what he does because he's like the superstar for a long time.
So I just recently learned too that the Iron Giant wasn't in the book at all. It was actually supposed to be Ultraman,
Yeah,
but they couldn't get the rights over the character to use in the movie. So I think it's cool that they replaced it with the Iron Giant. Honestly,
Should've
because I
done
love
it
that
anyway.
movie.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Iron Giant wasn't 80s, but
No.
that doesn't like limit it. This is still virtual reality world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Iron Giant was awesome though, really well done. I was super happy to see it. I love that movie.
Yeah. His classic Terminator thumbs up when he's
I know.
burning
I
away.
called it before that even happened. I'm like, he's gonna do a thumbs up, isn't he?
Dude, I missed that until now. That's great. I like the Gundam coming down. That was
Yeah.
super cool. Because I just recently did a Gundam photo shoot, so like my brain is still full of like Gundam images, and I'm actually modeling a mech right now in 3D,
Oh my gosh.
and it's
Ooh.
basically a Gundam ripoff. So that was cool. I was like, "Yay, Gundam!"
That's so funny.
That was a great in battle scene. I loved when all the players showed up, and the very first person you see was a Battletoad.
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
Oh,
Albie?
man. I didn't
Yes, I
notice
did
that.
see that. Yeah.
So dorky. I
Oh
love
my
it.
gosh.
Yeah, my son actually yelled out, "It's a Battletoad!"
Oh, well,
Yeah.
you raised him right.
Yeah.
That's good.
I actually didn't know that he knew what that was, I guess.
I only knew because of E3. They're making
Yeah, they're
new-
Yeah.
remaking the games. Yeah. Relaunching them.
Yeah, I like that end scene with the car racing through everything and then
Yeah, that
just
was-
jumping all over stuff. It was really well done. I love to see the CGI stuff that they had to plan for that. Oh, so
Mm.
much work.
I was also waiting for some lightsabers to come out, to be
I
honest.
know.
With you.
Me too. And that's I believe in the book he gets a lightsaber and he uses it, and it was super cool.
Halliday's character was really well done. I actually
Mhm.
wrote
Yeah.
several notes about him because, he reminded me of like a combination of Wozniak and Bill Gates, kind of.
With social anxiety.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, I actually even wrote, I'm like, was he like on the spectrum or something like that?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
now they say that, they'll look back at his behavior and they can say with a certain degree of certainty that Bill Gates was actually on the spectrum, and he had
Interesting.
Huh.
Asperger's and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And a lot of the tech giants pretty much
Mhm.
are. So I thought that was really, I don't know, for me, that was really subtle just because that kind of runs in my family. I'm like, oh, look, he's, as a kid, he's like, oh, he's on the spectrum. Look at him, the way he's, and the way he obsesses over, all the,
Yeah.
the 80s memorabilia and all that stuff, or the throwback. I thought that was really neat. I thought it was, if I want to get sappy, I thought it was really cool that they respected that. I don't know. I noticed it and I thought it was really, really cool.
Yeah, they didn't make fun of him because of his, weirdness or his social
Right,
stuff.
exactly.
It's just how he was. And people, it's kind of the story accepted it and just took you along for the ride with it. And that's part of who he is.
Right.
So that was well done. I like
Yeah.
that too.
Yeah.
And he was funny. Like I enjoyed his humor. Was there any part of the movie that just made you laugh, like literally out loud?
Chucky.
Ooh, I think there were a few.
I think
Chucky
for
showing
me
up.
at the beginning, it was when they were in the boardroom and they were talking about sales and stocks. And he's like, okay, so we have this new thing and we've created another like planet. And we got to right to the point right before they have like a seizure.
Oh, yeah, that was
Yeah.
funny.
It's like,
We got just enough ads right before seizure point.
Yeah.
Not too much.
I was like,
When he's talking about taking it over, right? And
Yeah,
80%
thinks he
or
wants
something
to
like 80% of the visual space is
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
ads.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I've read it somewhere that all tech that you actually see in movies actually exists in some sort of deep DARPA basement. So
I love those.
yeah,
Love that.
yeah, and that movies are essentially something like 10 to 15 years behind the actual tech that exists.
What?
So
Oh my gosh.
that's crazy.
yeah. So what we're seeing was actually happening in I can attest. I mean, virtual reality, we were using it when I first got into the military in the late 90s. Yeah, so we were using virtual reality way back then.
Mhm. I do believe the military has good reason to, but they
Yeah.
have technology, research, and discovery that's been years ahead of the public
Yeah,
commercial available
exactly.
stuff. And it slowly, either someone just discovers it over time, or it's released, or it leaks into the public and it becomes a thing.
Like Velcro. Joking.
Oh my God, there's a guy out there who believes that, as a conspiracy theorist, he believes that is a legitimate alien technology. Like, there's no way humans could have ever thought of Velcro unless it was given to us by an advanced civilization.
That's
Right.
funny.
I've heard of that.
When we're talking about secret tech being released to the public, there's a popular conspiracy theory that basically says that there is super advanced technology only the government has access to, but this thing called social engineering is basically the slow release of information about aliens into entertainment and into popular culture that is basically getting us ready for the big reveal in the future that boom, there's aliens, and we're like, we won't be in shock because we've had alien movies for years.
So,
Or mind control, like we're all just working our way up to a big something.
That's a
so
conspiracy
you're saying
theory.
there's a group of people
Yeah.
that allow only so much information out?
Reptilians.
like sorry.
I'm taking them down.
Somehow top secret government agencies who do know the truth are like leaking it into the public slowly to like get us ready.
I bet you I know where their location is. It's the lot right beside Area 51.
52, 51 and a half.
Have you guys heard it? You guys know who Tom DeLonge is, right?
Yeah.
No.
He was the lead for Blink-182. He's the lead singer for
Oh yeah,
Blink-182.
he's into alien stuff.
Well, he actually started a nonprofit called To the Stars Academy. That's exactly what they're doing. I mean, and it's public. They're a publicly traded company. They've gone out. They've done conferences. They've done keynotes. That's what happens when you spend 3 hours in the YouTube rabbit hole.
Yeah,
just
so many. Let's do a conspiracy theory episode.
Oh my
please.
gosh.
it would never end. It would never end.
My conspiracies have conspiracies, so.
There's a conspiracy about these. I'm going to make a whole new podcast. We'll call it the Visionary Truthers podcast.
Oh boy.
There at the end when Halliday gives the Easter egg to Wade, and then is he dead? We were talking about that.
That was the biggest, like, I was having a brain fart and my mind was blowing at the same time. Like, I'm like, but he has skin, and then like, but he's not an avatar.
Yeah, he didn't represent himself as an avatar, right?
Remember that German scientist in the Captain America movies that downloaded his brain into the computer system so he'd live forever?
He backed up his brain under reel-to-reel tapes? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It was
the biggest eye-rolling moment of sci-fi ever.
Yeah, but remember, technology is already 15 years behind.
Right.
Yeah, it reminds me of that movie Transcendent. You know, Ray Kurzweil is actually a big proponent for the singularity of being able to transfer his consciousness onto silicon. Stargate was a movie that also had these aliens, but they were just basically bioengineered clones where they just transferred their consciousness. Once that body kind of deteriorated, they would transfer themselves into a new clone body.
That's right. Yeah.
And so, I think the whole idea of transcendence is probably a whole nother podcast in itself. But that's what, Nate, that's what I look at when I see him. I don't think he died. I think he transcended into the...
Would his partner know he's alive? Because he's in the game? He
revealed himself to a partner.
Yeah, I know, but his partner's been in the game forever.
Yeah, true.
And he knows everything. That's what I'm saying. Like, he's like all knowledge.
Yeah, my theory is I feel like it's an artificial intelligence simulation of what he would say and do, with maybe some pre-programmed routes to take for answers and things. Yeah. But it is so intricate. It's almost too much to be a bot or even advanced AI to copy what he might do. So, I like the transcendence thing, but I feel like that's so out there that it's like outside the scope of what is even possible that we know of in this movie universe. And it's never touched on anywhere else. Honestly, the transcendence technology of transferring human consciousness and memories and, personality into an AI is like way bigger of a tech than the VR.
Yes.
Yeah. And if you could measure technologies, I feel like that is like, whoa,
that's it.
Ahead.
So we're talking about Halloween characters. So what do you guys think about, like, I think Angela and I talked about, isn't it convenient that all 5 of them live in the same city?
Yeah, that was one of my plot points that I thought was a little too out there for me.
It's kind of like how aliens always attack New York and everything like that.
Yeah.
One city. It's really great for
Yeah.
everybody involved.
I always think
Mhm.
because my native country is Mexico. I always think like, what's going on in Mexico while the aliens are attacking New York?
How are they doing down there?
They're just selling their hot dogs and
Oh,
tacos.
man.
Yeah,
So the acting overall, compared to in the virtual reality or reality, how did y'all feel like they were bouncing off each other when they really started realizing who each other were in reality? Did you feel like they were the same, like when they were in the virtual reality, or did they kind of like have like these light bulb moments and they became like more of a clan?
I thought it was good. I actually liked the characters and how they portrayed them. I feel
Mhm.
like it was pretty true to the book, except for I guess I expected Artemis to look different, but that's kind of like doesn't matter. Um, I liked the acting. I thought it was good.
Boss man.
I think that just points to the age we live in, that everything's so accessible that we all have much more intricate opinions about the type of things we see. So like this movie
Mhm.
in the 90s would have blown off the charts,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But now because of the plethora of media that's accessible by everybody,
Yeah.
You could look at that. And it's kind of like when we talked about Star Wars, I try to separate myself from um, try not to compare it to any other movies, see how it works as a standalone. And but so on that level, I think it was perfect. I mean, the tropes of character arcs, the guy on the journey, the hero on the journey, the woman who tries to prove herself, and all of those different tropes that you see in characters and in stories from millennia ago.
Yeah.
You can't help but recite that. That's just the way they are. So
How art is. That's how story is.
yeah, so that I think it still plays perfectly. It's just a different way of telling the same story.
I mean,
I'm talking about tropes and story pieces. I'm glad that Spielberg made Artemis less of a maiden in distress because
Yeah,
it's basically in the end of the book. It's like he has to save the girl. She's totally helpless, and he saves the day, and she's okay now because of him.
yeah.
But in the movie, they changed that. She's actually
more empowered.
independent.
Yeah.
She kind of saves the day because he's on the inside doing like crazy dangerous stuff. That was awesome.
Mhm.
When she's an ILI, she's posing
Yeah.
as a sixer. That was super cool. I was like, yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a good. I like Spielberg's call on that. That they removed a not so pleasant trope. At least these days, it's kind of we sort of roll our eyes when we see that helpless female being saved by a dude.
Yeah.
Getting old real quick. But yes, there was a lot of classics. The journey, the hero's journey, and all those other good story parts. I thought they came together really well.
Yeah. Well, what's sad is Spielberg was saying this is like his third hardest movie he ever made. I was like,
Wow.
man.
That's impressive.
At least
big
that's what the trivia was saying. I like trivia about movies, so I go read like all the random fun facts, and they were saying he made like a whole nother movie when he was waiting for Industrial Light and Magic to make like 1,500 digital like effects for shots. I was like, oh my goodness, he made a whole nother
Jeez.
movie. How long were you waiting?
That's crazy.
That's a lot of work. Yeah, so many CGI scenes. I'd love to know the exact percentage of time in the movie that was spent in CGI versus real world scenes.
Yeah.
People are wondering like how hard this was. Will it age well? The behind the scenes. How long did it take to edit like all the CGI and storyline and all that stuff?
Well, when you think about it this way, there's two things that come to my mind as far as CGI is the designing of the characters was relatively easy because they already had characters made. They just had to modelers and textures make the characters. They're already existent. So that was pretty sweet for them. They just got a bunch of game art and game footage and made the characters. Lots of work for sure, but it wasn't the same as with Avatar. They had to make everything from scratch. And the second thing is, I think Avatar is more advanced because it's a lot more nature scenes, which is way more render time, way more modeling and physics and planning. Also a lot more difficult lighting than in Ready Player One, which is a lot of kind of basic settings, like an open area, open field, or a techno-looking area, the disco party club. Things like that. It's a lot different when you get into the details of making it and rendering it than if you have a forest.
Yeah.
Watching the movie, I saw it with Daniel, and then I saw it again. It's kind of an inside joke. It's probably has nothing to do with the movie or anything, but the Barnabas, he's the main character in Rogue One, and I thought he had a scene with Darth Vader, and then in Ready Player One, he has a layer that looks similar between Rogue One with Darth Vader. I don't know the name of his place, and
his hangout.
Like episode 3, I think, when Anakin loses his arms and limbs, and he's like, "I hate you. You'd underestimate my like power." Angela's favorite part of the movie. Anyways,
Yeah.
She's a huge Anakin fan, by the way. But I just thought it was funny that it's totally irrelevant, and he has a layer that looks similar. So I thought that was funny.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he's back. The actor is in the same realm once again.
Yeah,
but he's not getting choked by Vader this time. This time he's trying to take over everything. Cool. Well, I think that about closes up this episode. Thank you so much, especially you, Abi, for joining us for this episode.
Yeah, it was fun.
Always great having you on. And thanks for watching the movie 5 times for this episode.
Well, I watched it 5 times. Actually, I just watched it. Well, after you asked me, I watched it 2 more times. So I had previously watched it 3 times. Yeah.
Well, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much, guys, for listening. As always, you can follow us on social media at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. We would love to hear back from you guys on any of our episodes. Just email us or comment or message us on any of our accounts. If you have any complaints or additions or subtractions to our episodes, please write us. We love to hear back from you guys. You can reach us at tvvpodcast@gmail.com. And thanks again for listening. Have a great week.
And Abi Leon, the guy who's taken down the Illuminati one reptilian at a time.
I am the one. I am the one. I am the one.
Oh my gosh.
I'm the one.
Okay then. How many ones are you?
I don't know. Just trying to give you a variety there.
All of the ones.
Surprises. I'm the one.
I think I'm going to keep all 3 of those in there.
That's great.
I am the one.
I am the Juan.